Today we are going to do some yin. There are of course many ways that you can approach a yin yoga practice. I was handed the torch of yin yoga from Sarah Powers. She was my first yin yoga teacher, and she dealt very much in the realm of Buddhism, psychology, and sort of the Chinese medicinal system, meridian system. And that was very nice for me. But then as I became more independent, practicing yin yoga, uh, it became more synonymous with a yoga where I would focus almost entirely on the internal aspect of the practice. Mind, breath, the feelings in the body, and maybe most importantly, my relationship to these feelings in the body. I would say now, if I would call a class yin yoga, I would maybe take one of its qualities and say that, yeah, that I can see is appropriate for pretty much all my yin yoga sessions, and that is the sense of being passive. Passive in how you're holding your position. Passive in the fact that you don't engage your muscles. Maybe sometimes you need a little bit of force to stabilize or to protect a certain area. But in general, passivity is a good ground for yin. Another aspect of yin that we meet in our passivity, well, because we do yin yoga and we hold the postures a little bit longer, we meet, well, darkness. We meet our own darkness. We stay in postures that feel a little uncomfortable, perhaps. We stay very still and focus very much on the internal, and we allow mind to really go deep into the recesses of our being. And in there, there's of course patches or clouds of darkness as well. Now, the way we want to um, balance through a yin yoga practice is by relating to the passivity, by relating to the darkness that we encounter with a strong sense of bond, of friendship. We want to make friends with all these little corners that we carry inside that we don't necessarily like and that we don't necessarily show. But in the privacy of our practice, we want to let all masks fall and really investigate, even as the investigation takes us a little deeper and maybe hurts a bit, both physically and psychologically, emotionally. Now, as a wonderful balance, as a kind of youngish aspect in this yin practice, we have a breath that, if modified, can feel like that source of light that gives a bit of space, a bit of relief in the darkness, a bit of energy in that passivity. So I would suggest we first develop a very calm, very steady, and very aware breath. We start from the seated posture, whichever seated posture works for you. Now ground yourself through your sit bones. Find a placement where the pelvis feels relaxed as it's dropping down. The front of your hips relaxed, the legs falling down without too much effort. The placement of the pelvis giving space for the spine to rise up without much effort. Belly softens, shoulders drop. There's a sense of length through the base of the skull, the back of the neck moving up. And once we have settled in our pose, we close our eyes, give in to darkness. We turn our mind to the breath. If in the beginning, when you observe your breath, you find that it is labored, erratic, a little stressed perhaps, anxious, Then focus your attention on relaxing your belly and relaxing your diaphragm. If you're an old yoga dog, an old yin yoga dog, then already now start taking that relaxed diaphragm that almost immediately sank as you sat and give it movement. Give it a bit of yang force in the midst of this stillness. Allow the breath to move your abdomen. Allow the breath to move your ribs. Allow the breath to gently massage the length of your spine, the width of your lower back, penetrate into the corners of your hips. Every exhale, relax, soften. That softening is another aspect of yin that we carry into the practice. We want to feel our tissues relax, soft, almost like water. When you have found your breathing and that sense of ease in your hips, in your spine, in your shoulders, then immediately bring your feet forward. And without any preparation whatsoever, let the weight of your skull drop. Let your spine lean forward. Let yourself sink inwards a little bit in the spirit of yin, rounding, giving in to the pull of gravity. Now the only measurement of physical yang that I would advise here is, especially if you have lower back issues or issues with your hips, is to keep a sense of focused, calm, but very focused energy in bringing both sit bones down to the ground with equal weight. So the pelvis stays aligned. And then from there, give in. When you have found that stop, that pause, that place within the posture where you feel that it's okay to stay still, but there is a little bit of sensory challenge. We feel things. When you have found that place, then commit to stillness. See if you can commit to complete exterior stillness. This will draw the attention of mind immediately deeper inwards. You will feel as though you get more intimate with your breath, with the sensations in the body, with the movement of life in your body. Now draw your attention, once you feel steady in your breath, towards the areas where there is more darkness, injuries, weaknesses, tension, pain. The darkness can also, of course, appear in a more emotional manner. Maybe the stillness makes you feel anxious. Maybe the stillness gives a rush of thought process that comes to the surface. If that is the case, if it's more emotional in nature, well, first bring your mind back to the anchor of the breath. Use that breath as this teacher. Calm down your mind, calm down your nervous system, And then allow that breath to accompany your mind towards the areas that you're investigating, be they physical or emotional. When we remain very passive in the posture, when we relax into the posture with the aim of softening the body, then gravity has more weight to play with, and it will naturally pull you a little bit closer, affording you a deeper posture. Now that deeper posture, of course, it creates a different intensity in the feelings and the sensations in the body. That deepening of posture can also invade your mind, the sense of worry that you're going too deep, a feeling, sensation maybe unknown, and then there's a tinge of fear. If you can steady your mind around the breath, and you can keep that breath calm and steady, it should be all right. If you find that this deepening of posture feels too much of a challenge, well then retract a little. No drama, no coming down on yourself or retracting. Come up, be kind to yourself. And when sensations are bearable, use your breath again. Let mind go deep. And then very, very slowly, we've been here for some time, start moving back. Raise your spine up. And here some of you may feel the need to move a little, to shift in the posture. By all means do it, but do it with great awareness. No erratic big movements where you feel like you're getting sloppy with your awareness. No, very conscious movement. Understanding why you are balancing or how you are balancing. Maybe by drawing the knees in, allowing the legs to be parallel, a little internally rotated in the hip joint. Maybe you want to curve the spine slightly. Very soft movement. Yin movement. From here, we're going to move out into a wide-legged posture. Here you already know the drill. Find comfort in your seat. So you feel like sitting here is very easy. You could do it for a long time. This means the front of the hips, the hip flexor here is relaxed. You have enough distance, enough opening to feel like, yeah, if I go deeper here, there will be some feeling. But not so much that you feel you're overstretching your own ambition. You want to be able to keep a long, effortlessly tall spine with a soft belly, room for breath. You want to feel so comfortable that your shoulders are not defending against the posture, your neck is not defending. And then from there, we sink down. Walking very slowly into posture. The minute you feel that first protest from your mind, from the feeling, the sensation, the emotion in the body, well then stop. Maybe release a little bit more weight. Maybe give in to gravity a little more, softening the joints, releasing the weight of your skull. Now this posture, for some of you, is going to hurt like hell. I know. Now I have done that torture for many years, so now I actually don't hurt so much in this posture. But I remember. So go very easy. There's a lot of different elements of stretchiness here, and to remain passive in this position can be quite tricky. Maybe if you have a bolster or a meditation cushion, you want to place it below your forehead, below your skull. Maybe you want to come up a little bit higher. If you feel already now that the posture is treating you too violently, then rectify it and then dive back in. When we go to a posture that causes us a lot of discomfort, that causes us this chewy pain that a yin posture often does, there is a trigger that gets started in the mind where we feel like we need to protect against the pain. And that is where that tension comes from. Now, sometimes the tension is more like an action of yang to kind of protect the area or to work intelligently with it structurally, such as sitting onto your very aligned pelvis, making sure that both sit bones are down. Or maybe if you feel like the inner knees here are challenged, maybe you want to give a little bit of energy to your feet, to your kneecaps, to your legs, as little as possible, but just that little bit of assistance. But that is not tension. The tension often appears in our shoulders, deep in the belly, in the throat, around the diaphragm, in our jaw, in our neck. It's like a misplaced army of soldiers. So we work with the exhale, with the yin quality of the exhale, promoting us to soft and inviting us to let go. And we continuously let go of those patterns of defense. And then, of course, we feel more. When that protective layer it goes away, then we get more towards the seed of the pain. Maybe the seed of an old injury, maybe the trace of heartbreak, of times of worry. See if you can stay within that little darkness, that corner. See if you can stay there with a mind that is kind. You want to care, you want to know, you want to be there for your own pain, physical, emotional. Now the physical practice, it promotes these sensations in the body, and very often they awaken that more emotional pattern. And we get a little sensitive, weepy, fragile within our yin practice. It's good. We're softening those outward layers of keeping it together, of being strong and capable and productive. And then whatever is hidden in those dark recesses, we treat it with breath, with energy, with presence from mind. A presence that tries not to judge, a presence that tries to stay equanimous. And if needed, we always have that teacher, the breath, with us. Calm, slow when needed, or just natural, a little bit less tamed perhaps, if you feel calm. All right, now I kept you there for a long time. Let us slowly, slowly, slowly come up. And then slowly, remember these transitions want to be taken in slow motion. You have softened the outward layer, muscle, and we feel a little chewy when we start moving. Do whatever you need to balance here, to rebound here. A little movement, maybe just a couple of very calm, directed breaths. And then let's come to a Sphinx. Maybe if you want to treat yourself extra kindly, you place a little blanket or something like that, especially if your floor is hard like mine is. Place your elbows right below the shoulder so you feel that when you relax your chest, you're sinking onto an aligned upper arm, almost like a 90-degree angle. Some of you that have issues in the lower back may want to apply a little Mula Bandha here. It's not a bad idea. It's like that little white circle of yang within this quite painful yin posture. See if you can soften around the kidneys, in the middle part of the back. See if you can soften and kind of sink down halfway onto your arms. So you're almost hanging a little bit off the shoulder. Place your head in such a way that your neck is not too effortful in holding up. Relax your jaw. Relax around the diaphragm. And here, maybe some of you yin veterans out there don't need it, but here I always need my big, strong, courageous breath to help me through. This position in general makes me feel very tender. So I breathe. I use my breath to create a sense of massage around the kidneys. I use that inhale to feel like I'm opening the area that is feeling quite cramped. I'm using the breath to appeal to this liquidity of my nature, feeling the breath like a wave sweeping down the length of my spine, penetrating and opening in this sensitive region that the position triggers. And then I use the exhale to release some of the residual tension that automatically comes up in my jaw, neck, and shoulders and diaphragm. After a while, everything starts aching, at least in my body. I feel the kidneys, I feel my lower back, I feel the shoulders, the arms. And then, of course, you have the choice. You can very kindly lay yourself down and change the pain through gently accepting that this is not your day. If you can hold it a little bit, see if you can work with the discomfort. Really be present within the discomfort. Try to kind of brush off that layer of resistance, that layer of tension that continuously will threaten to come up. See if you can stay calm and relaxed, even though it hurts. I would say that staying calm and relaxed when it hurts, when it's difficult, when it's challenging, well, that is almost like one of those yogi superpowers, isn't it? Okay, let's come down very slowly. Move your arms out, drop your head down. Relax a bit here. Maybe some of you will feel like you want to do a little liquid movement with your hips. Most of you will feel the desire to draw a couple of very deep breaths down that spine, widening around that area that was contracted, giving energy. And whenever you feel that pain has subsided enough, then crawl back into a child's pose. Take whichever version of child's pose that you feel is appropriate for the day. Maybe you want to have a pillow or a bolster below your belly, with a bit more separation between your knees. Arms forward, arms behind, arms on top of your neck, which I do sometimes, is very nice. Probably in the beginning you will just feel the resonance of that Sphinx posture still echoing at the base of the spine, in the middle of the back. Probably you will still feel that you have the need to help the movement of energy there by a couple of very deep breaths, sweeping breaths, wide breaths. Maybe there was some tension that appeared, and maybe a couple of exhales while you release and deflate that tension in the shoulders and your neck, your jaw. Now, when the residual sensations of your Sphinx posture start to dissipate, you will start to feel your hips, maybe the lower back. Maybe some of you will feel the shoulders in between the shoulder blades. Maybe some of you will feel the knees. See if you can, with a very calm mind, go and meet those places where it's a little darker. Now, I always say it, but I feel like I should say it here on YouTube also, to have it forever there. The reason to bring your mind towards that pain, towards the difficulties, the darkness, is really not an act of masochism or trying to torture ourselves in any way. It is simply a way for us to address the underlying energies that cause us to suffer. The suffering is that layer on top of the pain that is our own emotional response, that is our own emotional reaction. And some of it will be physical in the shape of tension, of hardening, of holding, of burying. And much of it is mind stuff. Through this yin practice, we want to learn how to relate to that darkness with kindness. Allowing kindness, compassion to be that light that shines onto it. Establishing friendship, establishing that sense of a bond, because after all, the pain is yours. It's not going to go anywhere. Hopefully it will change character, will change trigger, not maybe the same pain every day, but darkness is omnipresent. Pain is there whether we like it or not, so we might as well get to know it, relate to it, and be kind and care. From here, let's slowly come up, and we are going to go for a pigeon pose. Place the right leg or the left leg if you want in front. Try to find a pigeon wing with an angle and a direction that works for you to feel as relaxed as possible in your hip. The more open, the more 90 degrees you have it, the more you will feel it probably. The more you angle it towards the front, maybe it becomes a little easier. Another element is keeping that foot close to the groin or a little bit further away will also influence. Now, I would say, once again, because I'm a stickler for pelvic alignment, that you should try to angle that pigeon wing in such a way that you can keep your pelvis relatively square. So, maybe a pillow below, maybe a pillow below your left hip. We extend the left leg behind unless that feels too much, and then you can bring it out here, for example, or keep it a little curved behind you. Do what you can. Then we drop. We walk towards that bottom, that place when the mind starts protesting. We commit to exterior stillness. This is another one of those quite painful asanas for most of us, so maybe call for your teacher first. Find that broad breath, that courageous breath, that very calming, steady breath. The one that feels like an internal caress, like a massage, or like a lullaby for your nerves. Now the passivity in the posture, it for me comes mostly through allowing the muscles to relax and take as little responsibility as possible. When there is a lot of pain or it's a challenging posture that triggers a lot of things, then I uh, invite the breath into it very strongly. Like I need a bigger pearl of yang energy within that big yin painful balloon. If you're quite comfortable, then you can let that yang element diminish and shrink, and maybe just stay with almost natural breath, and continue just the bond between mind and body in the shape of simple awareness. Presence, same way, staying present within the darkness, within the painful areas, within that little flutter of anxiety, but without the accompanying teacher, still having enough calm, enough compassionate intention that there is no conflict, there's no violence in the meeting between mind and body. And slowly, slowly withdraw. Moving very slowly, deliberately. What I do is I lean a little bit more over onto the right hip so I can release the left leg. And here, some of you will want to have that little balancing time in between. Maybe the hip, maybe the leg fell asleep. Maybe there was an issue of trapped circulation that now enjoys that liberation of energy through the hip and the leg. Whenever you're ready, take the other side. And remember, maybe the other side can't do the same thing that the first side. Maybe it's more flexible. Try not to judge your own asymmetry. Instead, accommodate for it when you set up in the posture. For those of you that are kind of stickler for anatomy or skeletal alignment, and see if you can square off your hips, use whatever helpful tools you have at hand. Dive into posture, relax into posture, with or without your teacher. And when you find that space, when there is a balance between challenge and ease, then stay. Relax, soften. When you are in a strong posture like this one, then chances are that you will meet your uh, emotions is a little higher. That pain will kind of trigger maybe a bit of anxiety, maybe a bit of fear, maybe a bit of frustration, a bit of anger. Now, one thing you can do, which is interesting, that I find interesting, is to cut with the story as to why that anger, frustration is there, and instead look into the physical seat of that emotion. I find this very helpful. It's very easy to get carried away with the drama of the story. Not that having a story is wrong, right? We're not condemning it, but we don't want to be prisoners of it, and we don't want to be wholehearted believers of that story either. But instead, we look into how we're feeling. what is happening right here and right now. So we find the physical seat of that frustration, sadness, anger, confusion, restlessness. And then you can work with it exactly the same way that you work with the other physical sensations you're experiencing. Presence of mind, presence of breath, maybe a deeper, more hands-on, compassionate breath. You will find, because you spend a little longer time in these postures, that all these sensations that feel so concrete and big and immovable, they also change. And when you get to experience that with full presence of mind, with full presence of your own awareness, it's like it's a different type of teaching. It's not the theoretical teaching of impermanence, it's a witnessed, felt experience of impermanence that possibly, probably teaches better than any book or guru can. We slowly, slowly withdraw. Lean a little bit more over onto your left so you can release the right leg. And then from here, let's do one last little thing. Let's take a blanket, roll it up, or a bolster, and place it, pillow, place it. And then let's give the heart a little stretch. This posture now probably feels very welcome. If nothing else, for the fact that you now have the full support of gravity and you can really give into it. And at the same time, you get that nice little stretch of your diaphragm, sternum, your heart. Now, in yoga practice, I would say it addresses this heart opening that we're now doing physically pretty much all the time. It's asking for generosity of heart, generosity of spirit, because of its relationship to passivity, to darkness. Because we have contrasted the passivity and the darkness with our teaching breath and with our kind, compassionate presence. And now when we lay down here, it probably feels quite natural already, quite open. Maybe you feel inspired to draw a big, calm, beautiful breath into your chest, the upper portion of the lungs. Feeling that breath massaging around the collarbones, moving up towards the throat. Maybe you want to use it to really open around the solar plexus, widen the rib cage, give your diaphragm a good old stretch. And from here, if you have this kind of setup like I do, like little blankets, then maybe you want to stay a little longer. It's not too intrusive, it probably feels quite comfortable. If you have a bolster or a pillow, then maybe remove it and take your savasana. Well, I think everyone should take savasana because, well, it's savasana. Maybe remove the blanket and put it on top. So you get that warming yang element to contrast the feeling of probably a bit of chill, a bit of cold that you've gotten from this relaxing yin practice. Once you are in savasana, I would say, see if you can focus on the yin element of softening of that liquidity, which is not a bad image, right? Because we are predominantly liquid inside. Now you want to see if you can feel that liquidity. And I find that I feel it very well when I breathe a little deeper. I really feel as though there's a wave moving through my torso down towards my hips through that inhale, and then it kind of ebbs back out, and I feel the weight of the skull dropping, the ears kind of drifting away from the shoulders. I can feel how the shoulder blades sometimes melt out into the ground, sometimes sink down towards the rib cage. Very relaxing. Very calming, very soothing for your nervous system, very restorative for your body. Of course, yin also is, what is it? It's the creation element of earth, which feels very appropriate in savasana, to get into that earthly pool. Allow yourself to drop, to let go. See if you can stay awake with your mind, present with mind. As always, I hope that you get to stay a little bit longer in this wonderful position. I will remove myself. I hope you felt, hope you relaxed, and I hope to see you soon.